Where to start explaining this painting from around the year 1600? Two ladies seated in a bathtub, while one pinches the nipple of the other. Is this some lesbian scene of two lovers? Their poses seem pretty unnatural, so at first sight I would guess that there's more to the story, but let's first analyze what we see. The two red silk curtains that set the stage of this scene seem to suggest something theatrical. Then there are two ladies seated in a bathtub, which is covered by a light shiny fabric. Their faces and bodies are very pale. They have their hair up, wear pearl earrings, and one of them holds up a ring. But notice that their facial expressions are neutral, bringing our attention to the hand of one of them pinching the nipple of the other. It seems to suggest that there is some lesbian relation between the two. However, when I tell you that they are sisters, this seems not so likely. Although, as we will hear later on, these two ladies had few boundaries concerning sexual activities, so it's not entirely excluded. There is another compelling explanation for her sister touching the nipple, which is that the lady on the right may be pregnant. You could ask why they are not just showing her with a big belly to get this message across. Well, during the time this was painted, a big belly was not a very effective way to signal pregnancy. The reason was that during the previous 2 centuries, rounded bellies were a sign of beauty in paintings. A more effective way to express pregnancy for them was to have one lady extend a hand to the body of the other to feel the heartbeat of the baby or any of its movements inside the belly. As you can see, for example, in these paintings showing the visit of the pregnant Elizabeth to the pregnant Virgin Mary. While we don't know who the artist of this work was, we know that it came from someone from the so-called School of Fontainebleau in France, and that it shows Gabrielle D'Estrées and one of her sisters, most likely Julienne. Gabrielle is the blonde lady on the right, and she was the mistress of King Henry IV of France. And so, whereas touching her belly would have been a more conventional way of expressing pregnancy, the artist at the court of Fontainebleau decided to create a more spicy version of this gesture, something that would not have been strange at a court where the king enjoyed dressing up in women's clothing and many other naughty things happened. The painting provides another clue that can complete the story, which is the sewing lady in the background. She is probably a wet nurse, someone who would breastfeed and raise the child of the king's mistress. When looking at this painting and some similar ones, it is helpful to know what role hygiene and bathing played in France around the year 1600 when this painting was created. First, bathing was a very uncommon activity for the French at that time. Doctors recommended that people would wash their hands, but not the rest of their body. An important reason for that was the presence of syphilis, a bacterial disease that was brought back from the Americas a century earlier. Nowadays, we know that syphilis is transmitted through sexual contact, but that was not fully clear by then. In the centuries before this painting, public bathhouses were a common place where men and women met for some fun. And as this led to many cases of syphilis, doctors and the church had made sure that these bathhouses mostly shut down. In addition, bathing was associated with witches who would do ritual baths before their Sabbath, and as witches were not popular at all, bathing was also not popular. A renowned French medic of the time suggested that besides washing the hands, people should only rarely put their feet in the water, and certainly not their heads. And given the neatly styled hair of the two ladies in this painting, they were definitely not planning to do that. And there's plenty of makeup on their face and the rest of their upper body. And when I mention makeup, that refers to a thick white makeup that was applied to the face, shoulders and bosom, combined with some rouge applied to the lips and nipples. This was the beauty ideal at the French court at that time. Anyways, if they are not really planning to bathe, why are they in a tub without their clothes? Well, bathing did have symbolic or magical importance to these ladies from the upper class. We cannot see what is inside the bath, but it is most likely not water, but some other substance like milk or wine. These liquids were believed to provide some type of eternal youth. And these baths were not taken on a random day, but often on special days, like when there was a full moon or on religious days, to wash away one's sins. So the lady on the right is Gabrielle D'Estrées. She resembles the ideal beauty of her time, with her hair up and her skin so pale that, according to a contemporary of her, when she was wearing a white dress, the dress would appear black compared to the snow of her skin. Her body has been shaped by a kind of corset she would be wearing daily, but not to create an hourglass figure, but rather to create a body with as few curves as possible. Gabrielle is holding a ring, which had been given to her by King Henry IV. That both she and the king were already married to someone else did not withhold the king to have her as a mistress, and he even wanted to marry her. They already had 3 children together, but just before their marriage and her coronation, Gabrielle would die under suspicious circumstances. And that is close to the time that this painting was made, when she was pregnant with a 4th child from the king, providing additional evidence that the nipple gesture here is a sign of pregnancy. Gabrielle is depicted with one of her sisters, most likely Julienne, who was the Duchess of Villars. They both came from a very wealthy family, and they had a reputation for using their beauty to advance their life. Or, in other words, to use sex for their benefit. Gabrielle, Julienne, and 5 other siblings were actually known as the 7 deadly sins, referring to their open-minded lifestyle. There are a few details in this painting that we have not looked at yet. Their significance is not completely clear and have been subject to a lot of speculation, especially related to the suspicious death of Gabrielle. I'm not sure of the truth of these speculations, but it's at least fun to share. First, the bright red curtains would be a reference to the bloodshed that would cause her death. The fire in the hearth would be a reference to the fire of life, and in this case the fire is so small, referring to the last moments of the mistress. And the suing lady could be a witch who is unpicking the thread of Gabrielle's life. The same people interpret the green cloth over a table in front of the fire as covering Gabrielle's coffin, as her favorite color was green. The dark mirror reflects the lack of life. And finally, the painting above the fire only shows the legs of a male, referring to the immoral actions of the mistress with the king. I showed you several bathing scenes in this video. Here's for example an early one from 1571 by François Clouet. And here's a copy of this painting, probably showing the same sitter as in her focal painting, Gabrielle D'Estrées. This bathing theme was actually quite popular during the turn of the 17th century, and they were often used as decorative items for the houses of the rich. The reason was that these semi-nude images were associated with the naked mythological goddesses as captured during the classical periods and revived during the Renaissance. However, in the second half of the 17th century, many of these nude bathing scenes became out of vogue, and many of these works were burned or were overpainted with veils. Well, that's gonna do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I would appreciate if you can hit the like and subscribe buttons to support the channel. Thanks for watching.